Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my read aloud of Free Sunsets and Other Stories by Mr. Lewis Carroll here, and we'll see what Carroll wrote here. It's a very lovely not short story, but verse. It's just very lovely, and so here it is. It's a bit bleak, but I love it. In the dark silence of an ancient room, whose one tall window fronted to the west, the sunset glow was fading into night sat a pale lady resting wearily hands upon the great clasped volume and her face within her hands. Not as to rest as she bowed, but large hot tears were coursing down her cheek, and low pained sobs broke awfully upon the sleeping echoes of the night. Soon she unclasped the volume once again, and she read the words in tone of agony, as in self-torture, weeping as she read. Her crowns of glory of his race, he prayeth but in some fit place, to meet his foreman face to face, and the battling for the true and the right, from ruddy dawn to purple night, to perish in the midmost fight, where hearts are fierce and hands are strong, where petals and bulge loud as long, where blood is dropping in the throng, still with a dim and glazing eye, to watch the tide of victory, to hear in death the battle cry, then gathered grandly to his grave, to rest among the true and the brave, in holy ground, where yew trees wave, where from church windows sculptured fair, float upon the evening air, the note of praise, the voice of prayer, where no vain marbled mockery insults with loud and boastful lie the simple soldier's memory, where sometimes little children go and read in whispered ancient slow the name of him who sleeps below. Her voice died out, like in one of those dreams she sat. Alas, she sighed, for what can women do? Her life is aimless, and her death is unknown. Hemmed in social forms, she pines in vain. Man has his work, but what can women do? The answer came there from a creeping gloom, the creeping gloom that settled into night. Peace, for thy lost in other man's. Peace, for thy lot is in other than a man's. He is a path of thorns. He beats him down. He faces death. He wrestles with despair. Thine is of roses to adorn and cheer his lonely life, and hid the thorns and flowers. She spake again in bitter tone, and she spake, I as a toy, the puppet of an hour, or a fair posy newly plucked at morn, but flung aside and withered ere the night. And the answer came from there, from the creeping gloom, the creeping gloom that blackened into night. So shalt thou be a lamp to the light his path? What time the shades of sorrow close around? And so it seemed to her, an awful light pierced slowly through the darkness, orbed and grew, until all passed away the ancient room. The sunlight dying through the trenciled vine, the one tall window, all passed away, and she was standing on the mighty hills, beneath, around the as far as the eye could see, squadron on squadron, stretched opposing hosts, ranked as battle, mute and motionless, and on the distant thunder shook on the ground. The tramp of horses and the troops shot by plunged headlong in that living sea of men, plunged to their death, back from the fatal field, a scattered handful, fighting hard for life, broke through the seared lines, but as she gazed, they shrank and melted, and from their forms grew pale as ghosts. Then the first morning ray dawns the east, the trumpet's brazen blare died into silence, and the vision passed to a room where sick and dying lay in a long sad line. There brooded fear and pain, darkness was there, and the shade of Ansel's wing, but there was one that ever to and fro moved with light footfall purely calm her face, and those deep sad-faced eyes that stirred the gloom, still as she went she ministered to each, comfort and counsel, cooled and fevered brow, with softest touch, and in the listening ear of the pale suffer whispered words of peace. That dying warrior, gazing as she passed, clasped his thin hands and blessed her too. Thou who didst bless this merciful of old. She prayed the lady watching tearfully, her gentle moving onward, till the night had veiled her wholly, and the vision passed. Then once again the solemn whisper came. So in the darkness pale of man's despair, where war and terror shake the troubled earth, lies a woman's mission, with unbleaching brow, to pass through scenes of horror and affright, where men grow sick and tremble unto her, and all things are sanctified, for all are good. Nothing so mean, but shall deserve her care, nothing so great, but as she may bear her part. No life in vain, but each have a place assigned. Do thou's thy task and leave the rest to God. And never was silence, but the lady made no answer. She gave, arose the breath, Amen. She rose, and in the darkening room, still lonely as the spirit of the night, still calm and fearless and gathered night, then raised upon the eyes of heaven, there were tears upon her face, but in her heart was peace, peace that the world nor gives nor takes away. And so that is your bit of Lewis Carroll for this week. Let me know what you think of it, and yeah, thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.